What used to be called skipping breakfast is now called intermittent fasting. But are they exactly the same thing? That's what we will want to cover in this video. We will go through what is intermittent fasting, why you should or shouldn't do it, how it should be done, and then we're going to cover two very common questions, i.e. is skipping breakfast a really good idea? And number two, can you lose weight or can you choose to maintain or even gain weight while doing intermittent fasting? By the way, guys, got some feedback from previous videos saying that my videos are a bit too long, but please bear with me because this is not scratch the surface. It's kind of 3-minute video because I really want to go through some stories about how I decided to start intermittent fasting, how is it affecting me right now, and really to give as much information as possible so that might pique your interest into wanting to start intermittent fasting or just find out more about it. So please bear with me. So is skipping breakfast and intermittent fasting really the same thing? Yes and no. So intermittent fasting usually involves skipping breakfast, but I think intermittent fasting, as fancy as it sounds compared to skipping breakfast, what it really does is it gives a definite rule, a definite set of rules that you should be following if you want to do intermittent fasting properly. So as a rule of thumb, what it usually means is you fast for 16 hours followed by an 8-hour window for eating. Some people do 18 hours plus 6 hours, some people do 20 plus 4, but for the sake of this video, I'll just stick to 16 plus 8. So what I mean when it gives a much stricter rules, basically after your last meal of the day, your dinner at 8 p.m, you really shouldn't be consuming any calories until you break your fast the next day. Whereas if I just say skip breakfast, you might have very late dinner, you might have supper, you might have snacks, you end up having your last calorie at say 11 p.m. So if you just skip breakfast and then you have your lunch at say 1 p.m, then it ends up being a 14-hour fast rather than 16 hours fast. Now that 2 hours actually makes a lot of difference because some of the effects, some of the benefits of intermittent fasting actually comes in only at about from the 12th to the 16th hour of your fasting, sometimes up to 18, it depends. So the term intermittent fasting really gives that much more clearer and definite a set of rules for you to follow to fully appreciate and to fully benefit from intermittent fasting. So why do intermittent fasting? I think the first thing that probably comes to your mind is to lose weight. Now that's a little misleading because there are a lot more things in terms of health benefits that you can achieve by doing intermittent fasting and not just losing weight. In fact, you can maintain or even gain weight during intermittent fasting. Again, that really depends on how many calories you eat during your eating window, right? So okay, a bit of background about why I started intermittent fasting is back in December 2018, after not doing a full medical checkup for ages, for years, I decided to do it because a friend of mine just did and discovered he had high cholesterol and stuff. So I thought, after years of not doing it, it's a bit dangerous because I'm already mid-30s. I'm guessing there would be things that would be better to be found out earlier rather than later. So that's what I did, and to my surprise, really, my bad cholesterol was a little bit high, my sugar levels were moderate, and I have a bit of a fatty liver. So then I started doing a couple of tweaks to my diet because the doctor actually suggested I start taking statins, but of course I turned down statins because statins is a long-term medication, and once you start, you can't really stop, and once you start, there could be side effects like muscle sores, muscle aches, which isn't ideal because I'm still fairly physically active. I lift once every week, I do Muay Thai boxing once every week, among other things. So that wouldn't be ideal. So of course, I went online to Google up what I can do about it, and there were two very salient options that came up. So number one, keto diets. So why I chose not to go on a keto diet is because, don't get me wrong, I totally believe in keto diets if you do it well, if you do it properly, but the thing is I didn't trust myself. That's why I didn't do keto. That's why I didn't go on a keto diet. Keto diet basically means you have to trust yourself to take so little carbs in your diet that your body enters into ketosis, which means your body is in a state where it burns fat for fuel. And I just didn't trust myself for being able to keep my carbs that low, especially in a social setting. So I opted for the second salient option, namely intermittent fasting. So my point is there are a lot of other benefits besides losing weight in intermittent fasting. You can lower hypertension, you can lower cholesterol, you can decrease your risk of neurodegenerative diseases, etc., etc. But you get the idea. There's a lot more benefits to it than just keeping your body weight down, and especially for my age, mid-30s. I think right now health is really a lot more important to me than just fitness and how I look on the outside. Not only these benefits, but sometimes intermittent fasting also acts as a detox, as a little reset to your body. But I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a reset for your body, because to reset your body with fasting, it takes a lot longer than just 16 hours a day. People usually go, for example, 20-hour fasting, 4-hour window of eating for say a week. So that's more cyclical. Whereas my kind of intermittent fasting, when I do 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, that's a more permanent thing. I do it on weekdays mostly. I try to keep up with it on weekends as well. But if you want to reset, then the fasting requires a bit different, if not just a longer form of intermittent fasting that's a bit more cyclical and seasonal. So now that you know why people do intermittent fasting, I want to go through how you do intermittent fasting. So like I said, 16 hours of fasting followed by 18 hours of eating is actually way easier than you think. So let's imagine, again, 16 plus 8, you finish your dinner at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. So if you were to fast 16 hours, what time do you fast until? You only fast until 12 p.m. tomorrow, noon tomorrow. So again, you finish your dinner at 8 o'clock, and then you have your next meal at noon the day after. So that's why I say it's similar to skipping breakfast, but with a stricter set of rules, because you're not supposed to consume any calories from 8 p.m. until noon the next day. And then in that 8 hours, if you're really planning to lose weight, just do 2 meals. Just do lunch, dinner. Maybe if you work out, maybe just a bit more pre-workout or after workout. But it's really easier than you think. At the risk of further complicating things, there is also this thing called partial intermittent fasting, which is also what I do from time to time. Basically, what I do is after a 12-hour fast, say 8 p.m. dinner and 8 a.m. tomorrow as a breakfast, sort of, I'll have a version of the bulletproof coffee. If you have not heard of bulletproof coffee, I think in generic terms, not referring to the bulletproof coffee by Dave Asprey. In general, what it means is there's 2 components to this coffee. Coffee, i.e. the caffeine component and the fats component. So the caffeine component can either be tea or it can be your normal coffee. So it's basically just caffeine plus polyphenols. Polyphenols are the stuff inside you normally find in plants or plant-based things like coffee and tea that helps with benefits that I just mentioned for intermittent fasting, like reduces heart disease risk. It reduces your hypertension. It might help reduce cholesterol and stuff. And these are also the compounds normally found in cocoa and wine. And then there is the fats part, which can be had from, say, olive oil, can be had from butter, or can also be had from coconut oil, MCT oil, and whatnot. So you're probably asking, so if you are sort of consuming these things only 12 hours since your last meal, is it still considered intermittent fasting? Hence, it's called partial intermittent fasting. So I'm kind of giving my intermittent fasting a boost by caffeine, just keep myself up, just keep my body and mental energy and focus up. Fats also provide some good energy, not just for your body but for your brain as well. Now here's the thing, why is it called partial intermittent fasting? Is because you will be consuming only a small amount of fats and caffeine, which is probably 0 in calories, so that your body still knows that you're in the fasting state. You have not effectively exited from the fasting state yet until 4 hours later. So to recap, if I finish my dinner at 8 p.m., sometimes every other day perhaps I would 12 hours later at 8 a.m. be consuming a version of the bulletproof coffee. So sorry, don't mean to throw in product advertisements, but if you have followed, if you've been following Focus Foods, we have this product called Breakfast 2.0. Now, Breakfast 2.0 is not like liquid meal. Our liquid meal is high in complex carbs, high in protein, moderate in fats. But Breakfast 2.0 is actually just that two components. The caffeine component, which comes from yerba mate. Yerba mate is a self-regulating tea. So each serving has about the equivalent caffeine content of one shot of espresso, plus the polyphenols that I just mentioned that has all these, antioxidative benefits to it. And then the other component, fats. So Breakfast 2.0, we have C8 MCTs. What are C8 MCTs? C8 MCTs are basically medium chain triglycerides. If you consume coconut oil, which is such a popular thing right now, only part of it is MCT, your medium chain triglycerides, and only part of this MCT is your C8 MCTs. C8 MCTs are basically very potent fats that you just need in a small amount that your body is more than happy to digest. But to digest and metabolize as very clean energy, not just for your body, but for your mental focus as well. I've already covered what is intermittent fasting, why you should do it, how you should do it. So now I'm going to answer two very common questions. Is skipping breakfast a good idea? I think short answer, yes. We've all grown up with this notion always being told that breakfast is your most important meal because you gotta start your day right. I totally agree with the fact that the advice that you should start your day right, but I think there's a lot of other things that we can do to start the day right. For example, you could meditate, you could, some even say, make your bed. It has plenty of implied benefits for you throughout the day, but let's talk about nutrition. So to answer that question, I think let's ask ourselves another question. For example, if you have milk and granola in the morning, what use does your body have with that amount of carbs and sugar in the morning? If you're going for a workout, like if I go for a hike, I would have that kind of breakfast or a liquid meal. Totally not being biased. I would, if I were to go for a boxing or Muay Thai or a hike, I totally would. But if your job mostly just consists of you sitting down on your desk, why do you need so many carbs? Why do you need so much calories in your body? Right? And then now increasingly on the medical aspect of it is insulin spikes. So your body is just waking up, it hasn't consumed much energy while you were sleeping. Of course it does consume a little bit, but suddenly you're spiking your body with so much sugar coming from carbs like say granola, cereals or whatever. And then what does insulin spike mean again? When does your body need insulin? Your body needs insulin when it needs to metabolize food that you just took. So when there's an insulin spike and when the food sort of enters your bloodstream into your muscles and it isn't needed, but there's insulin going around, what happens is your muscle is telling the insulin, hey, look, we don't really need you right now. I think you can go take a back seat. So then your body tries to get rid of the insulin, right? So now there's a communication problem, so-called, which then develops into this thing called insulin resistance. What it basically means is, so when your body actually really needs insulin, your muscles are not that reactive to it anymore, right? And what this condition is called is pre-diabetes. And I think what that name implies is too much insulin spike, too much unnecessary insulin spike, which leads to insulin resistance, which is called pre-diabetes. So if you do not keep this habit in check, it will then develop and become diabetes. And sugar again, there's so much research going on right now. More and more statistics have shown that your body's main enemy is probably sugar, right? What causes cancer? Probably sugar. There's a very strong link there. And even cholesterol, you'd be surprised. You think it's animal fats, you think it's saturated fats, but no, because sugar causes inflammation, and your body, when it wants to fight inflammation, what it does is secretes LDLs, bad cholesterols, into your bloodstream. That's how bad cholesterol accumulates. So, well, just to summarize, is skipping breakfast a good idea? Two things. Ask yourself, do you need that much energy sitting on your desk? But if you're going for a hike, you do your working out and stuff, then maybe it's justified. Again, depending on your goals. And number two, be very wary of insulin spikes and how it leads to insulin resistance, which is also called prediabetes. Now, another very common question is, yes, most people can lose weight with intermittent fasting, but if I do not want to lose weight, if I want to maintain or even gain weight, is that possible? Now, that really goes back to a very simple fact that you want to gain weight, you just eat more calories than your body needs. So you have an 8-hour eating window. 8 hour is a very long time actually. So if you want to lose weight, just have your lunch, have your dinner like normal. But if you want to not lose weight or gain weight, just up your calorie intake. Just eat like lunch and something in between, and then dinner. You have 8 hours. You eat at 12 p.m., maybe eat again at 4 p.m., and then again at 8 p.m. You've got plenty of time there. So if you want to do intermittent fasting for health reasons and you don't want to lose weight, sure, it still works. Thank you very much for staying with me until now. I hope you find that useful. If you think anything was unclear, if you have any questions or comments at all, please feel free to comment in the comment box below. And if you like this video, you find this helpful, you want to see more similar stuff, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.